Josh Green here for Tungsten Tales. I'd like to be joined for the first time by Jules Van Dongen. Jules, now a PDC Pro, coming through one of the hardest tournaments in World Darts in Q-School. You must be delighted to say you're on that Pro Tour now.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling to be able to say that. And I went in it just to gain some experience, and told myself I'm going to go to Q-School at least 3 years, and to do it on the first year is it's pretty crazy.
You say you just went there for experience. I mean, what were the expectations going in? Did you just want to compete with the professionals, or was there a thought in the back of your mind, you know what, I might actually be able to put myself into a good position here?
Yeah, I think I had obviously a really good year here in the States, 2021. It was really my first year on national level of playing darts, and it went really well. But then the last 6 weeks prior to Q-School, kind of heading into Lakeside, my game wasn't really there. My practice wasn't good. So my expectations kind of lowered as we got closer. But yeah, then once I got there, you just start getting in the groove, and I felt every day my game was getting better and better. So
do you feel like, you say, getting into the groove? Obviously Q-School is now sort of 2 stages as such. Some people will say you will benefit from playing stage 1. Some people will say that because they're long days you may not benefit. Did you feel like you benefited from having those extra couple of days?
Yeah, definitely. And I, if I see my first couple of games were really edgy, nervy. So I had a little bit more time to get in the groove. And the first day, I think I had top 16. So I kind of knew the next 2 days were just trying to get some games under my belt, and I did that. And I really felt the first day of stage 2 that my scoring was all of a sudden where it should be. So I think it's definitely an advantage playing that first stage. And I actually talked with Jelle Klaassen about it, that, he comes in stage 2 and he has to deliver day 1. And that's, I think it's not an advantage at all.
Yeah. And just explain the feeling of walking into a huge room with hundreds and hundreds of talented dart players, all looking to achieve the same thing, and you look around and you say, I've got to get in the top 13, 14 of these, and I've got to overcome so much to be there. What's the feeling like walking into a room like that?
Yeah, for me, especially since I never really played in Europe, there's plenty of guys there that I know from either watching the World Cup or just watching Euro tours or whatever it is. So you kind of look up to those guys, and you want to be one of them. And I do think once the game starts, for me, I try to play the board. I try to not watch my opponent. So I kind of forget about that. And the only problem probably that I have is at the end of the game, you start thinking about it when you need to take it over the line. So made a couple mistakes there, but other than that, it's just an amazing experience, looking around the room and seeing all these guys that are very capable.
At what point during the 4 days of stage 2 did you think, I've got a tour card here? Because you were collecting so many wins, yet not going into the automatic spots like a couple of players did.
Yeah, I think the first day was top 16 of the second stage, and I said, all right, that's 2 points. That's a good start. I don't want to get too greedy, but I was like, okay, 2 points. If I have a good run the next 2 days, 3 days, or if I keep doing top 16, I should be good. And then the second day, it just I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about it until I was in the final, where I realized, okay, I have 7 points, which is most likely enough to get me my tour card. So yeah, that's when not until the final I realized, I was in a really good spot after 2 days. And yeah, it's a great feeling. And I think that kind of messed up my final a bit, where I went coasting 4-0 and end up losing that final. but yeah, you just start thinking about everything, and you know, your game goes down a bit, but that's all good.
As it's the first time I've spoke to you, I'd like to get a sort of a little insight into your darts story of such. So, I mean, how long for a start have you been playing darts? And you say last year was your first real year on national level.
Yeah. So I originally from the Netherlands, and over there I would play occasionally. Had a board in my room and played a bit, but never really played tournaments. Never played more than once or twice a week. Yeah, and then I moved to the States. Would play state championship every year. Typically lose first round every year. And then in 2020, I reached the semifinal. And I was thinking, out of nowhere, kind of, and it's like, let me go do one more tournament. And they had another tournament a month later, and I ended up winning that one. And I think we had 180 people in it, and that felt pretty good. Then COVID happened, got laid off. Was in the hospitality industry, in the hotel industry, and all of a sudden I had time to practice. So I start hitting the board. Online darts came about in the beginning of 2020. So I really focused on that, playing online. And 2020, I would say I only played locally tournaments within the state of Missouri. And in 21, I had a talk with my wife, and I said, well, why don't I try to compete on the national level? Why don't I go and see what I can do and try to obtain my CDC tour card? And that's what I did. So June of 21, I think, was my first real big tournament, which was Cherry Bomb in Florida. And I end up winning both finals against Danny Lobby. And that just kind of, that's where it really took off for me after that weekend, being so successful and just boosting my morale and just the willingness of going and traveling and playing all these tournaments. So
you mentioned the CDC tour. It's played a big part in so many careers now. Jeff Smith is probably the one that mainly comes to mind, obviously competing on the Pro Tour. How much did that help you in the year, and how much did you take the experience of that into Q-School, and how much will you take into this year?
Yeah, I mean, the CDC is so valuable for us here in America. What I noticed is that we play a lot of good high level tournaments, but you play doubles, triples, mixed doubles, you name it, it's all weekend. And then it'll affect your singles game, obviously, if you're playing all weekend. And with the CDC tour, it's very much like the PDC tour, where you just play singles. You play one event every day. You get knocked out, you're done. You go back to your room, you come back the next day. It's very professional, very high level, actually. I only played one CDC weekend, and I lost two finals in 90 average, and lost a quarterfinal with a 97 average. So I mean, it shows you that darts in America is definitely getting at a higher standard, and they are providing the platform for us to do that, and they're really kind of the stepping stone to the PDC. So really appreciate all they do. And
it's something that seems to be growing a lot now. We see Danny Lorby at a couple of world championships. We've seen him at the World Cup. Leonard Gates, obviously, has qualified for the WDF. Chuck Pulio, we've seen over here a few times. Plenty of Canadian names as well. It seems like we're finally starting to get a stream of North American talent that's coming through into the professional level over here.
Yeah, and then you got a couple youngsters coming through that are going to be just phenomenal. Also through the CDC, and then playing over in England in the JDC. Yeah. You got Joey Lenaw, PJ Stewart. Those guys are going to be knocking at the door in a couple of years, and it's great to see, definitely.
100%. Well, we'll quickly touch on your goals for 2022. You say you mentioned before we hit record that you've packed up the job. You're going to be a pro darts player. Does that put any pressure on for you, or just because it's a a job now, you know you've got to go out and earn the money on the Pro Tour?
Yeah, I think my wife and I talked about it, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And the challenge for us, obviously, is we can't just drive to Milton Keynes or Barnsley. You know, we have to go on a plane for 12 hours, and so we have a little bit more of a challenge coming from North America. And for that reason, I think it's good that I'm going to try to pursue my dream. And if it doesn't work out, at least I can say I tried it, and I want to give it my best. And now I have a lot more time to practice, and because that was one thing I just didn't have a whole lot of time to be on the board, and now that all opens up, and you know, I can more than double my my hours on the board.
How will the travel sort of work for you? Will you come over to England for a few weeks at a time, or will you just go backwards and forwards almost every 2 weeks, or however often the Pro Tours are?
Yeah, for right now, I think I have my travel booked till the end of March, which is back and forth every 2 weeks. So that's pretty tough. But at the same time, if I would stay the whole time, I have 2 little kids. My wife has a full-time job. I need to also, I not only need, but I want to, not miss my kids growing up, and I don't want to sacrifice any of that. And I think as long as we're all in it together as a family, that's important too, that it's not just me competing over there, and having a solid base and the support here at home. It's very important.
Yeah. And just finally, your goals for 2022, obviously you start from zero in terms of the ranking money. What are the goals? To be in a world championship, to just earn some money on the Pro Tour? What are the goals for you, Jules?
It's hard to say. I think for me, things in the last year and a half have gone so fast, and you think something is not possible until you do it, and then you look ahead to the next goal. I think it's important to have goals, but for me, obviously, I'm not gonna shoot for the stars. I want to establish myself first, get comfortable on the tour, pick up prize money, try to climb the rankings. And I lack a lot of stage experience, so I'm hoping to qualify for some Euro tours to kind of get that under my belt. I think I just want to gain experience and get comfortable, and then start to look up and see what happens.
Well, that's perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Jules. Much appreciated, and we'll see you in just over a week's time in the first Pro Tour of the year.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Josh.